Cooper Strip Club paint and varnish directions. It can be used for joinery, automotive, marine, exterior, furniture, and masonry. Says Cooper strips any finish from any surface. Do not get this on anything you don't want it on. Lead, enamel, acrylic, 2-pack powder coat, 15 seconds. Polyurethane, lacquer, varnish, shellac, oil, stain, floor glue, anti-foul cedar oil, and stain. It'll work on all timbers, veneer, plyboard, composite board, metal, concrete, brick, plaster, and glass. No sanding. Easy to use, low odor, non-caustic, safe lead removal. Economical, saves time, no vibration, silent, and no dust. Awesome. Says read the label before use. Description. Cooper Stripper is a premium quality, high performance, deep penetrating, spray on paint and varnish stripper, capable of stripping any type of paint or varnish. Used in accordance with instructions, guides supplied with your products, or the latest guides which are available at www.coopersstripclub.com. Says to shake it well. Coverage. A thin finish, approximately 3 to 4 it's written in metrics. Approximately 3 to 4 milliliters. A medium finish, approximately 2 to 3 milliliters. Thick finish, approximately 1 to 2 milliliters. An actual surface stripped. It's made in New Zealand by the Specialist Restoration Supplies Ltd. 1 Ross Street, Woodville, New Zealand. P.O. Box 157, Petula, Pahidia. Well, I can't pronounce that. New Zealand, 4941. Inquiries at coopersstripclub.com. Store between 10 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius, away from direct sunlight. For maximum performance, use within 1 hour. For maximum performance, use within 1 year period. After use, pour unused stripper back into the original container. Rinse the applicator bottle and trigger clean with flusher. Customer support in the U.S. is 1-833-579-0489. Online tutorials are at www.cooperstripclub.com. It also says to avoid breathing vapors, use with adequate ventilation. Yeah. Okay. So that's what's on the bottle, okay? Then step number 2 and 3 is the same stuff. Okay, now part 3 is Cooper Strip Club Paint and Varnish Flusher for step 3 of 3. Rinses soft residue. No sanding. Made easy. High performance. Expert quality. And it says basically the same thing about all the different materials that it removes. And then we're going to go on over here to the label. Description. Cooper's Flusher dilutes softened paint and varnish and stripper residue, making them easy to wipe away. As explained in step 3 of the do-it-yourself guide, its fast-drying, non-grain raising properties allow finish to commence without the need to sand, providing previous timber damage. Previous timber damage is not present. Use in accordance with instruction guides supplied with your product or the latest guides which are available at www.coopersstripclub.com. Coverage, approximately 4 to 8 meters square. Actual surface rinsed. Store between 10 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius, away from direct sunlight. It's made in New Zealand. Same customer support number. Cooper's moisturizer in the bottle is virtually non-toxic and becomes a non-toxic finish after application. Wearing safety equipment is optional. Do not use when an exterior surface has been prepared using steel wool. Do not use on a wooden floor that has recently been sanded. Avoid contact with absorbent surfaces other than your timber. Wallpaper, fabrics, low gloss painted surfaces, or unfinished wallboard. Description: Moisturizer conditions the timber to repel dirt and moisture. It is a non-skin forming wood finish that develops a rich, natural patina. It is suited mainly to indoor applications with simple periodic maintenance. The finish of the timber is not only preserved, it is improved. Trial first to establish suitability. Application: brush onto prepared surface and leave to absorb. Apply to any area that looks as though it is dried. Leave until the moisturizer stops absorbing, 1 to 3 days. Wipe off any surplus, then buff to a mellow glow with a clean, dry cloth. Note: evenly brushing or spraying the moisturizer is not necessary as it doesn't dry. In accordance with the instructions, guides, supplies with your product, or the latest guides which are available at cooperstripclub.com. So in other words, this moisturizer, you brush it on, wipe it on, and you leave it on thick, and it absorbs down into the wood and gives it a natural finish. And you put it in until your wood, you put it on until your wood stops absorbing it, and then you clean it up.
Stripping guide. Cooper's stripping system gives you the no sanding advantage by reusing the sanding that was done by the person who made what you are about to strip. The following method allows you to strip the old paint and varnish from on top of the surface, not down inside it. Steps 1 and 3, as well as from within the surface's outer layers. Steps 4 to 6. Okay. Step number 1, apply stripper. Steps 1 through 3 will remove what is on top of the surface. Spray on a light, even, wet coat. Move the applicator as you spray using a sweeping action like spray paint. Protect all surfaces not being stripped. Step number 2, keep the surface wet with stripper and wait. Wait for the stripper to reach the surface. Be patient, let it do its work. Anywhere from 2 to 60 minutes. Apply more stripper if the old finish starts to appear dry. If large hollow blisters appear, remove them. Step number 3, then reapply more stripper. Step number 1. Step number 3, remove the grunge. Use a flexible putty knife for flat surfaces. Use an old spoon for molded surfaces. Lightly drag a 4-edge blade throughout the acrylic and the lead paint. Steps number 1 through 3, on any areas where the old finish has not been removed. Okay, so apply it, let it sit for from anywhere from 2 minutes to an hour, and then remove all of the stripper and your finish with a putty knife, steel wool, a brush, whatever you got to get in there to remove it with. Okay. Now, step 4, apply stripper. Then wait 2 to 5 minutes. Step 4 through 6 will remove what is within the surface. Typically, when the surface was originally finished, the first few coats of paint or varnish to be applied absorbs into the surface. That's what step number 4 is going to get out of there, what's beneath the surface. Okay? Now, step number 5, keep the surface wet with stripper. Scrub the wet surface using one or more of the following: steel wool, grit embedded nylon pads, or a soft bristle brush. Scrub in the direction of the grain. Do not scrub across the grain. After scrubbing, wipe away any wet grunge with a cloth. Do not use steel wool in a wet area or in an exterior or a bathroom. Number 6, keep the surface wet with flusher. Rinse the surface clean. Spray flusher onto the surface while scrubbing with one or more of the following: clean steel wool, grit embedded nylon pads, or soft bristled detail brush. Scrub in the direction of the grain. Wipe dry with a clean, dry cloth. Do not use steel wool in a wet area. Final check. The wet rinsed look is the finished look. If the wet rinsed look is to your liking, you are now ready to apply a new finish. No sanding required. If there is undesirable paint or stain left within the surface, repeat steps 4 through 6. Use a grit embedded nylon pad, in which some cases undesirable pigment may remain, or you will uncover a blemish that requires additional work. Notes. Look for an even wet reflection in the light. See correctly using a trigger on page 4. Start from the top and work your way down to avoid residue running into a stripped area. Multiple light applications will absorb into the old finish more effectively than a thick application of gel. Carefully slice where there is a paint buildup. For example, there are beading connects a panel. Then apply stripper into the slice. Different finishes react on their own unique way to the stripper. Shellac will dissolve. Enamel will blister. Polyurethane will fry, while acrylic, lead, and 2-packs will soften and become rubbery. The rule is not to use a tool that damages the surface. Steps 4 through 6 gives you the Cooper's no sanding advantage. Do not scrub the surface dry. Keep the surface wet with additional stripper if required. When wiping away the wet grunge, roll the cloth as you wipe to avoid pushing residue into the surface. Read the steel wool notice before you start. Page 1. At the completion of step 5, move immediately on to step 6 to remove any soft residue that remains before it hardens. Spray, scrub, spray, wipe. Use clean steel wool, brushes, and pads to avoid soft residues being spread. Read steel wool notice before you start section page 1. If your project requires any additional work, see unforeseen stripping results on page 5. Setting up the products. When handling the products, wear the appropriate safety equipment, health and safety. Stripper. Ensure the container's original lid is screwed on tight. Invert the container and shake well so that all the ingredients have settled and mixed back together. Decant the stripper into the applicator trigger bottle. In the case of 10 or 20 liter sizes, use a tap in the cap. In the case of 1, 2, or 3, just pour it in with a funnel. Attach the trigger head to the applicator bottle. If the tube that draws the stripper out of the applicator bottle is too long, simply push down on the trigger head, forcing the tube to bend around the bottom of the bottle. Shake before use if it has not been used more than a half hour. Cold weather. Stripper works best between 15 and 30 degrees Celsius. If the stripper drops below 15 degrees Celsius, warm it by setting the container into warm water. Loosen the lid before warming to allow pressure to escape and then retighten afterwards. Do not use water that is over 40 degrees Celsius, as stripper will boil. The flusher. Decant flusher using the same decanting procedure as stripper, as flusher does not separate like stripper and can be used at any temperature. There is no need to heat it in cold weather. Steel wool. Cut a length approximately 200 millimeters with an old pair of scissors or snips. Do not cut next to where the liquids are so that bits of wool may transfer into the liquids and may cause applicator triggers to block. Do not attempt to break the steel wool with your hands, as strands of the steel wool may cut into your hands. Cut the wool into the desired length with a pair of snips while wearing garden gloves, and twist the wool and fold it twice to form a bud that you are able to scrub with. Always use a clean, dry, lint-free disposable cloth when removing stripper residues from the timber. Always roll the cloth as you wipe to avoid pushing the residue back into the substrate. Brush maintenance. Don't scrub too hard with the brush, as the bristles will permanently bend over. The best time to clean the bristles is while the grunge is still wet. Simply spray flusher into the bristles with a sharp tap. Smack the bristle into the hard surface. The grunge will fall out. If any grunge dries in the bristles, comb the bristles with a wire brush. Unforeseen stripping results. Paint in the grain. This is where paint pigment is remained in the grain at the end of step 6.